And we're rolling. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission meeting for Monday, April 5th, 2021. Bring this meeting at 7 p.m. And if everyone can mute their volume, if you don't mute yourself, I will mute you until your hearing is ready. All right. Hi, Eric. Okay, so first order is roll call attendance for the board members. Mike?
Mike's muted.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah.
You said
Mike?
mute yourself, so I did.
Excluding the board members.
Oh. Silly me.
Okay. Mark?
Here.
Art?
Present.
Katie Grace?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Okay, and Tracy Sharkey. Okay, first item on the agenda would be under discussion, meeting minutes.
I have not reviewed them.
I did. Surprise. I went over the minutes from the latest meeting from March 15th that the new note taker took care of, and had a few corrections and submitted them back to Steve for disbursement to the committee. And then she went back to January 11th, and I also reviewed those and made some modifications and submitted that back to Steve as well.
Okay, thank you. So our board, are we ready to vote on those minutes?
I
Have
would
the
be willing
revisions
to
been
based
made?
on Art's review.
I'm sorry, what, Mark?
Well, I thought Art said he sent them back to Steve, but have the revisions been made for us to be able to vote on them?
Yeah, so the ones Art sent back, I filled in some blanks on some people's names that she didn't have, along with what Art had for the March 15th. So I think those revisions had been made along with filling in some of the engineers' names in the document. So I think the 15th, unless there's some other changes from the commission, I think it satisfied myself and Art. The 11th, I think, came in today.
Right.
I'm just trying to log into my Adobe right now. So anybody else, if you want to take a look at the minutes.
I sent an email today because I got them this afternoon. I CC'd the blind carbon copy to the commission on the February 11th one.
January 11th.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, January 11th.
But the March 15th one was about a week ago.
Yep.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion if we're ready to give a motion. At least one of the members has looked through them. So.
I didn't know if everybody got an opportunity to review.
I have not looked at them,
Okay.
but I trust Art.
And I think Steve looked at them also because you filled in anyway. So
Yep.
sure that's pretty accurate.
I think she did a pretty good job first time doing them.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the March 15th minutes as amended.
Motion's been made
Second.
by Art, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Art Montminy, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
KG Dudley, aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll look at the 11th, right?
The January, 11th. That's out there now.
Okay,
But that's all I've received so far.
okay. All right, so we'll save those for next meeting. Next item in the mail, notice of intent to sell the chapter 61B land Ball Hill Road, 15.03 acres. This is at 7:05 PM. So this was the same as the last request. This is an additional parcel.
Yep, they inadvertently forgot to send both parcels. So we assumed there was just one, the 10-acre one, what the commission voted on, not to exercise the right of first refusal. So this one should have been within that package. No fault of ours, but it was just, wasn't submitted to us to go over. So it's another parcel. I think it's other side of the street as you're going down Bald Hill. The 10-acre one was on the left. I think this is on the right.
Okay. Board, do we need a refresher or we know where we're talking about? Do we need to see the plan? No. Not hearing anyone, I'll entertain a motion.
Nothing about the plan, but same question as I had from last time. Is this something open space looked at?
They get CC'd on it.
I'm sure they'd be seized. Yeah, I'm sure it goes through their committee. I'm not sure if they looked at it yet, but I'm sure they're one of the committees that they get input from.
Well, I know that, and I was just wondering what their recommendation was. We don't know what their decision was.
I do not.
Okay.
So we chose not to exercise the option on the last parcel.
Correct. Again, genuinely, the consideration is if it's a historical or environmental habitat of interest, or if it's contiguous or abutting another property that's owned by the town or the state or the council or whatever. If it's abutting another piece of land of interest, those would be the two things that would interest the town. If it's not either of those, and generally we're not swimming in money to buy property like this.
Steve, what's the price on this one? This is 15 acres this time, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's the same.
Same price?
as the last one. I'll tell you in 1 second.
I think it was 110. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And 110, yes. 110,000. So I'll entertain a motion not to exercise.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Well, I'll move that we refrain from exercising our option here.
Motion made by Art,
Seconded.
second by Grady Gase. Roll call vote.
Robin, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Monjamai.
KG Dudley, aye.
Thank you very much. Orders to be signed. I tried something a little different where I tried to combine two documents, two of the orders at one time. Didn't work out. So that's why you had another round of the same exact thing. I think I have the last two that I was waiting for. So thank you very much. I'm not going to try that again.
Should be 6 in total from Jefferson Road.
Yeah. So I tried to combine the documents and then do the signatures all as one document, but it didn't work out for some reason. Next item, number 4, request for a minor plan modification, 36 Davis Street, CP number 143-0999 at 7:10 PM.
Yeah, so I have, I think Mr. Fitzpatrick's here. Can you see the plan on the screen?
Yes.
So this is across, Mr. Fitzpatrick can kind of explain. I think if you go down Davis Street, the garage is up. I got some photos I'll show you. I think his existing house is to the right. And I think he wants to connect, he just wants to add a little paving between the two properties. So let me bring up some photos of it. So this is the existing property here. Is the photos up on the screen?
Yes.
So Mr. Fitzpatrick, you kind of want to explain what you want to do here?
Yeah, right where the white van is, where the tractor is, I'm looking to actually connect the driveway that was approved, that area right there, into the existing driveway to the right of that picture. And then what I'm looking to do is I'm gonna remove a good portion of the existing driveway on this, on the house side. And replace, I'm looking just to replace what I'm removing, just in a different location. So where that white fence is, that driveway on the left, I'm gonna remove that driveway. I was hoping to be able to incorporate all that, but I just installed that driveway like 2 years ago, and now I'm gonna rip it up. But in the grand scheme of things, it makes everything flow so much nicer, and that's the reason why I'm asking for you to
What's going to replace the driveway that you're ripping out?
grass. I'm gonna extend the lawn. Where you see that, where your pointer is, where the white fence
Split
is.
rail fence? Yeah.
Yeah, that white fence is gonna come out. The stone wall, currently in front of that stone wall all the way up, there's probably about a 2-foot patch of grass existing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove that driveway. And then I'm gonna plant grass, move the railing. I'm gonna basically put grass all the way around to the front of that dumpster, up to the tree. Everything that's not driveway is gonna be lawn, irrigated lawn, so hopefully, if the cost is not too expensive to put an irrigation system in.
So this is all coming out here.
Yeah, that's all gonna come out, correct. It's just gonna be all lawn.
But you're gonna leave it in front of the house back over here and just keep that connected.
Yeah, correct. I'm gonna actually chop that back a little bit further too, so I have some grass going, basically all the way around that stone wall. Because I want to put some plantings and stuff in around the wall. So basically, right where you see that, the garage door, the two garage doors, the one on the right, if you were to split the difference between that door and the stone wall, that's how far back I'm gonna take the asphalt out.
I don't see a stone wall.
So this area that we're talking about, Steve, I'm not seeing the previously approved plan anywhere, or I can't access it, but this is within that local jurisdiction only, right?
Yes.
So that isolated wetland in the front left of the property is where jurisdictionally this would be falling under.
I mean, I bring the plan up if you want.
Yeah, I just want to see where the 100 is.
And there's riverfront there.
I don't,
It's
That's
an
riverfront.
intermittent.
no, it's intermittent.
It's intermittent.
Yeah, that back stream is yeah, that riverfront that's associated with Joseph Road is further down. That's Wellman Brook. So the
Okay.
brook behind his house is an intermittent stream.
Okay.
Let me bring up the plan.
Point, they probably weren't being as careful as.
Okay, it's loading now. Hang on. You see the plan here?
Yes.
So here's the, I got an old plan, but it shows the buffer zone.
Okay.
Which ones?
Yeah, it's actually outside the buffer zone where this work is.
Right here, where he's connecting it is probably, yeah, right, probably where his house is here. Yeah, you're probably right. You might have just a little bit right here, but
Yeah, the majority of it is outside of that. Because that actually, the plan that you're showing there was the original plan that I submitted. So the building is not where you're showing it on that picture. That was the original submittal.
Okay. So yeah, so the majority is outside the jurisdiction as far as that little slice in there. The additional.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. That's the reason why I wanted to make sure that
Is this new plan coming up?
Yeah, that's the right plan.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that is the
Okay.
current one. And yeah, you're correct. There's not very much that I'm adding that would fall into
And you're actually reducing the proposed on the left side, right?
on the right side,
Proposed driveway
on the right side.
Is existing?
Yeah, on the right.
I know.
not the left.
on the left side, you had proposed.
Yeah, that was the approved proposed.
Yeah,
lot.
so you have a little bit over there that you're not doing.
That's correct. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm actually 25 square feet less by removing what I'm removing and adding where I'm adding to the approved plan that you have there in front of you.
Right, so you're not doing the proposed that we already approved for the 448 square feet. Then your proposed 631 square feet is really not even in our jurisdictional area.
Okay.
Maybe probably an eighth is, I would say.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're moving farther away from that isolated wetland on the front, a little bit farther, 448 square feet less.
Right. Okay.
So board, this is a request to modify the layout of the driveway to do some work within our jurisdiction. We can add a condition as far as that, restoring to lumen seed in the front yard. But what are we thinking?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay,
I'm good as well.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm
I have
good.
a question.
yes, Eric?
I noticed there's a tree by the road. Is that going to be affected at all?
I hope not.
Okay.
My intentions were to keep it.
Yeah, so tree to remain. Okay, I'll entertain a formal motion.
I move that we agree to modify the 36 Davis Street plan to include our normal conditions and reseeding and the removed driveway area.
And allow and require the tree to remain.
And the tree is to remain as well.
Motion's been made by Art,
Seconded.
second by Katie Grace, roll call vote.
Art Monmany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Manjamai.
KG Dudley, aye.
Thank you. Okay, and it'll be part of the record, that plan, so we will need an as-built plan showing the changes so that when we go for our certificate, it lines up with whatever was approved.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Hi, James.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, discussion number 5, Kathy Whitney regarding 34 Davis Street.
Yes, so that's actually should have been 34 Grove Street.
Okay,
My fault on that.
that's okay.
So,
That's
Kathy,
719, folks, for the stamp.
Yes, thank you.
you are. Yeah, so Kathy reached out to me. She's using a butter to the property. She had, I guess she couldn't attend the last couple meetings. And then the hearing for 34 Grove Street, I explained to her, was closed and the plan was approved. But nevertheless, she just wanted to address the commission regarding some of some questions. So I put her on into the discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll probably be really quick. I just
Hey,
want to
great, we
understand.
look quick.
I know, we like quick, don't we?
Yeah.
So I was looking at the plans. Of course, I had to blow them up like really far. And I'm just looking. I don't know if Steve, if you have the latest plans, but I'm just trying to understand the gravel area around where the proposed house is. Because again, I'm worried about the runoff. And my well is in the backyard, so I didn't know if there was some kind of, is that supposed to be like some type of French drain or something? Yeah, over.
So
See
you're,
that?
you're here
Yeah.
and you're wondering,
So you go up a little bit, you see where that long area is it says gravel area.
Gravel area.
Yep. Oh, go to the left.
over
It's up
here.
by the house.
Oh,
I assume that it's gonna like probably maybe be, it almost looks like it's I don't know, some type
Sorry.
of French French drain, or is it like to catch the runoff from the roof? Because, I don't know if you guys had a chance to walk the area. It was snowing, I think, the weekend that you were gonna go look at it, but
so I know
Oh,
the,
gravel area is the septic system.
oh, okay, all
oh,
right.
yeah, so Cass, so we had, I mean, I think the design engineer might be on too, but what the commission did is you see these arrows?
Yep.
So instead of the water pitching all this way, they asked that the water from all this property pitches actually on this side of the crossing. It goes
Okay.
through the replication and then it gets through these pipes and it helps slows down any runoff from the house, that it's actually, instead of going towards yours initially, it's gonna come through the wetlands and then come through the pipes. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that was.
Okay.
That was
And I remember there was talk of 4 of those pipes, but now there's just going to be 3.
It's just 3.
Okay. All right. Because again, I'm just worried about all the water that I already have in the backyard. I just don't want it. But now that, if that's what those arrows mean, that the water is going to go towards, their backyard, I'm fine with that. Okay.
Any other questions, Kathleen?
No, hold on just a sec. Oh, is there this, oh, okay, it's an asphalt driveway. Is it the plan for the whole driveway to be asphalt? And how does that work with drainage? Because I think initially they were gonna have like a dirt road or something, and I was concerned about that because of, in the summer, of the dirt and sand and stuff flying all over the place. And then Dale had mentioned that, oh, I'll just tar it. But then I was like, well, what about drainage?
So
Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I believe it's the entire driveway is designed to be asphalted.
Yeah, I had asked that question a few weeks back, a few meetings ago.
And then you can also see how it's pitched with the flow.
Yeah, I see the arrows at the towards the left side, but I don't see
Mhm.
anything like going down the driveway. Okay.
Usually it has a
The
little,
driveway is crowned where it goes over the wetland area. So at the middle pipe,
Yep.
the middle culvert, that's the high point of the driveway, and it goes towards the house and it goes towards the road from that point.
Okay. All right. Oh, because it's going to be down like a slant. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, not an engineer.
Okay, we want to
Okay.
keep everyone happy.
Well, I'll
Well,
let it go.
As much as possible.
Right. Okay, I think that's it. See, quick and easy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Steve,
Thank
getting me
you.
on the list today.
You're
yeah, and
welcome.
reach out to Steve, you by email or phone, and he'll help you out with any concerns.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank
it. Have a
you.
good night, you guys.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
So Tracy, I have a couple of things just real quick under discussion before we start the main meeting.
Okay. Not reasonably anticipated.
No.
Okay.
So real quick, the way this meeting schedule worked out this year, because the 19th is a holiday, we're not able to meet on the 19th, 2 weeks from today. And then I believe May 3rd might be annual town meeting. So that's why we have such a gap between the 5th and the 17th of May. So I've been trying to, and because the town has the Zoom, we can only have one Zoom meeting a night. We can't have multiple ones. So when Board of Health meets on the 26th, but they meet at 6 o'clock, they might end a little early. So if possible, I'm trying to schedule a meeting either on the 26th or the 3rd. If the 3rd's the annual town meeting, then that won't work, but maybe on the 26th, even if that's 7:30 or 8, that would be not for any items tonight, because any items tonight has to be because of the public hearing process, has to be continued to a date certain. But if I can schedule the 26th, any new NOIs that come in, would the commission want me to try to schedule the 26th?
Yes.
Or if that doesn't work out, I could look at starting at 6 PM on May 17th if we were really inundated with new hearings.
I don't have the stamina for that. We gotta split it up, I think. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Do you not have anything like the 21st or the 22nd either?
On a Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah,
I'll try. If the commission doesn't mind meeting on a off Monday, I'll see if we can schedule a meeting on well, it would probably be the 25th or the 27th, probably best. Give any new
26th or 27th.
26th, 7th, or 8th. I'll see if it's available. Okay. And that
What
would
is it scheduled for now?
schedules the next meeting is going to be May 17th.
To go from April 5th to May
There was only
17th.
one, excuse me, there was only one Concom meeting for the month of April?
Because of the holiday.
We missed it, yeah.
Was it Patriots Day?
Yes.
I'm okay with the 26th if that works for everybody.
And it'll
Yeah.
it won't be none of these, it will be any new items. So we have one coming up, 35 Waller Street. They were supposed to be on tonight, but they didn't advertise in time. That's the one where they had the RDA where they took down the house, the big mansion on the lake. We walked it probably last summer. So
Yeah.
the filing a full NOI, it's pretty comprehensive wetland delineation. I'd like to send that out for Ecotech to give a proposal. And if it's acceptable to the applicant with the price, just to have them go ahead and start reviewing it.
Okay, so first thing is, board, are you okay with adding a meeting on April 26th?
I am.
Yes.
Okay, consensus on that. And then
If
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, the Board of Health is meeting, so if we can't do the 26th, I'll try to do another day, either the Tuesday or Wednesday of that week also.
I can't promise that I can make it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Yeah, me either.
And we've got planning board also, so you've got two people here on the planning board.
That's why I'm trying. Okay, so it's either the 26th or nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, it sounds good.
or the 26th, and if not, the 3rd. But I think that is town meeting, yeah, town meeting.
Right, okay.
Okay, and then secondly, I'll just look that up. Do you need a motion to request and approve Art to get rolling on that?
Give me a
Or
consensus.
third?
I think that's fine. Give me a consensus.
So board, you good with that?
With Ecotech?
I
Yes,
am.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
All right, very good. And if I can get the 26th, I'll try to have that Waller Street on that meeting. Okay, very good.
and it is annual town election. Well, that's supposed to say town meeting, but it says election, May 3rd at 7 PM.
So that's a big difference. If it's an election, people tend to sometimes have meetings during election night, but
No, it was just, it looks like a typo, because the annual town election is May 11th,
oh, okay.
and town meeting is May 3rd. But they put election.
Very good.
Okay. Any other requests on that for discussion? Steve,
Thank you.
okay,
that was started at 7:25, Tracy, for the
okay, thank you.
note taker.
Okay, back to old business. Notice of intent, 7:30 Cedar Street and Webster Street Bridge Replacement Project.
Email came over the wire this afternoon. DEP has still not commented. So they asked for a continuation.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
To when, Steve?
May 17th.
Okay, Art made the motion to continue.
Seconded.
And then Katie Grace seconded. All those in favor, roll call.
Art Motley, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Manjamai.
KG Dudley, aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. New business. One moment. Okay. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Lloyd Moran located at 175 Southwest Main Street for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves the construction of a 776 square foot addition in a 624 square foot detached garage, along with associated earthwork, landscaping, utilities with the buffer zone. Public participation will be via virtual means only pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Public may participate via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice of intent may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission 508-476-4000-205. To be published one time March 24th and one time March 24th. Okay. All right, meets it. All right, who is presenting for this project?
Good evening. This is Byron Andrews from Andrews Survey and Engineering.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. I'm representing Mr. Moran tonight. As you said, he is adding a 624
Oops.
square foot detached garage and 776 square foot addition. I believe that the 776 square feet probably includes the enclosed porch and deck. We have two resource areas we're dealing with. The house addition is situated mostly within the between the 50-foot wetland buffer and the 100-foot wetland buffer. It is also in a flood zone. The detached garage is outside of the 100-foot buffer for the wetlands, but it is still in a flood zone. We are proposing in regard to the flood zone, it would be affecting approximately 1,500 square feet of flood zone area, resulting in 1,565 cubic feet of flood storage lost. We are replacing that with 1,968 square feet and 1,688 cubic feet. So the square footage would increase by 33% and the cubic feet of storage would increase by 8% over what currently exists.
Where is that, Byron?
Yeah.
The yellow highlighted line right there is the flood line. So you can see it kind of reaches way close to the street. It arcs close to the street.
Where's your compensatory storage? Where are you proposing that?
Well, if you see the grade lines there, I think the compensatory storage is we're evening out the grade where the proposed gravel driveway is. And I think that's what adds the extra storage.
Mm.
But the gravel driveway is already in the floodplain.
Yeah, the gravel driveway would be in the floodplain, but that gravel driveway that's highlighted is proposed. So I think what it is that area actually has a slightly higher elevation now, so it would be graded level with the existing driveway, which would increase the storage area kind of between that proposed driveway and the proposed garage.
Does you have you have another existing driveway also that's out there?
Yeah, there's one on the left-hand side. I don't think it leads very far into the lot. It's kind of truncated, goes in maybe like 40 or 50 feet maybe.
If I have a video, you can see it.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll get the map open.
So the addition's going to the left.
That's right. And that's where the garage would be. We're looking at the area where the garage is. Looks like you might
That's
have,
the second driveway that Steve was talking about. It looks like
Yeah.
it comes all the way in.
yeah, it might have done some work there since our field survey last year.
This is where, pretty much where the garage, and then you'll see the existing deck. I think the proposed deck pretty much goes out to where the existing deck is located.
Will they be doing flood vents in the garage?
I don't believe so. At least I don't know of any that are designed into the garage.
Oh, I thought that was required.
Let's see this.
I have to look at the garage blueprints.
Yeah, that's more like construction stuff anyway.
It's pretty flat up on and elevated up on this portion. I just didn't, I gave Jude some comments. He never replied. So there's no DEP number. Couple ancillary things. I don't know, I don't see that this was actually even submitted to the DEP, Byron, because it's not even on their list of pending numbers.
Okay, I'll look into that. I actually wasn't handling the project before. Jude was handling it, but I'll look and see what the status is of the DEP number. I presume that we would have sent something in, but I'll verify that.
Is there any clearing associated with the project?
Yeah, there is a little bit of clearing. Looks like maybe about 50 feet of clearing. Kind of between the garage and the addition on the left-hand side of the lot.
Is that within the jurisdictional area?
Most of that is actually outside the jurisdictional area. Now, it looks like the jurisdictional area goes right along the tree line.
The plan doesn't show a connection of the driveway to the garage. Is there one?
Of the proposed garage, driveway to the garage?
Correct. To the separate outbuilding garage or whatever.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
There isn't a connection.
Yeah, at least there isn't any on our plans.
So that's not like an automobile garage then.
No, it'd probably be for machinery, I'd expect.
The driveway does go to the addition. Is that a garage in the
Yes.
building?
Yep, yeah.
Okay, board, do we have any questions? Initial questions? I know he did demonstrate the compensatory storage, and it's a little deceiving, the picture, so we may want to take a walk out there at our leisure. Katie Grace, do you have something?
Yeah, no, I would appreciate a site walk as well. My point was there seems to be a lot of available area towards the front or the road side of the lot, closer to Southwest Main Street and outside the wetland buffer. And I just wanted to ask if there was any consideration to having that addition in a location that was outside the 100-foot buffer.
You mean the freestanding garage?
No, that's already outside the buffer. I mean the proposed 712 square foot addition with the enclosed porch and the deck.
I don't know if there was any consideration of that. It's an architectural issue. I would think they probably designed it the way they did because of specific needs for the house.
Okay. All right, without knowing those needs, I mean, that would be my first comment, would be to recommend remove the addition out of the 100-foot wetland buffer and make it a smaller addition unless there's a need to have that much square footage.
I can talk to my client and find out what the specific reasons for that architectural design is.
All right, thank you.
Art,
Not at this time.
Mike,
No.
Eric,
No,
Mark again? Any follow-up?
I'm good for right now.
Okay. Okay, do we want anything staked out before we do our visit?
Yes,
Yeah, the whole,
the corners of the house and the driveway, I would say.
the garage as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, is that outside our area?
It's just in the floodplain.
Floodplain. So it is
It
dirt.
would be good to see anyway.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, so did I lose Byron?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, you're just on page 2. Here we go. Okay, a lot of people on. All right, so could you make that happen? How much time do you need? I mean, you're gonna be going to May for a continuance, so.
Yeah, no, I think that's plenty of time to address these questions and stake out the garage and the
Yeah, maybe
other issues.
by the first week of May.
Mhm.
Okay,
Could you let Steve know so that he could let us know that it's, if anybody's interested in doing a site walk, that'll, we know for sure it's been staked out.
Yeah, I'll let Steve know once the stakes are in place.
Great, thank you.
I would like to get a calculation of the clearing and all disturbance within the wetland buffer zone.
okay, this is a public hearing, so if you would like to speak on this agenda item, name, address, and we'll go one at a time. So if anybody wants to speak about this project.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Raymond Wishart, 187 Southwest Main.
Hello.
I was just curious if the power easement is going to be modified. Power through Mr. Moran's property feeds 187, my property, and I just want to ensure that no real change will happen there.
Yeah, there's no change proposed for the location of the electric lines on the lot.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope the board will work with Mr. Moran to satisfy all parties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public have any questions or concerns?
It's Art Allen from Ecotech, commissions consultant. I was not a consultant on this project, but I just wanted to make a comment about the flood storage.
Sure.
Typically, flood storage compensation is not allowed within the flood zone. It almost appears to me from looking at the plan that the flood storage is proposed in that area where they're clearing trees just outside the flood zone. I see it looks like they're changing the grades over there and potentially cutting that area down. That would make sense to me as the flood storage location, because as the commission is probably aware, flood storage has to be provided at a foot per foot basis. So typically cutting down elevations within the flood zone is not allowed for compensation, because the structure is going to be built up above the flood zone. So you have to cut above the flood zone to compensate for it. You can see where the grades are changing within the area that's proposed to be cleared on the left, to the left of the proposed gravel driveway. That, I think, I would imagine that's where they're proposing the flood compensation. Just a little FYI, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We do have per foot calculations if you need those numbers.
He's
Yes, I would like to see those numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to find them. I was reading through the paperwork on preparation of the meeting, and I do remember seeing it, but I didn't make a note of where it was.
So we do have a chart on the plan.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's where it was.
So I think we just need to take a look and see what DEP is going to say about that also, to make sure it's correctly taken care of.
All right, well, those are floodplain calculations and compensation calculations, but that doesn't speak to what I asked about in terms of how much total disturbance of the wetland buffer through clearing and compensation work.
Yeah, that was your first question, but the second one was, I thought, foot for foot,
And location,
the incremental depth.
like Art was saying, and the location.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what's drawn in orange doesn't extend to what looks like to be the limit of the clearing.
yeah. So I'm sure Steve has that on his list that it's not shown.
It's not, yeah, I never got a response from your engineer on some of the basic items that were needed. Jude, I think I sent them to Jude.
Yeah, Jude, I'm not sure if you're aware, he had an accident a few weeks ago and he's recovering. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a skiing accident, which is why I'm representing this plan tonight instead of Jude. If you want to send the information your questions to me, I can work with Jude or with Rich Mainville and get some answers to those questions for you.
Very good.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you.
All right, anyone else from the audience? Can raise your hand, you can go live. Anyone? Not seeing anyone. Entertain a motion to continue this
So moved.
hearing to
Second,
May 17th,
May
7
17th.
PM. Motion been made by Art, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote.
Art Montmany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Manjamai.
KG Dudley, aye.
Thank you very much.
That discussion was started at 7:31 for the record.
Okay, and then at 7:50.
Yep.
Okay. And next item on the agenda. And Katie Grace, you may need to take over for me. I have to wait till 8 o'clock though, to see if I have to leave. So just a heads up on that.
Thank you for the heads up.
7 PM, RDA, public meeting, 36 Maple Street, Kevin Hart, possible votes. Let me just get over there. The plan was in the owner's trash, it said. Let me just go.
So go to the
Okay.
folder instead.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
Okay. Yeah, that happened to me in the last one, but yeah.
Okay, the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Kevin Hart on April 5th, 2021 at 7 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 36 Maple Street, Assessors Map 190, lot 27.1, and that the applicant is requesting permission to construct a new single-family home and septic system. Public participation will be via virtual means only pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order, imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies may be examined electronically by contacting Conservation Commission 508-476-4000, extension 205, and March 25th. So this is a request and
Yes,
presenting.
I think is Margaret Bacon here?
Yeah, she's here. Yep, go for it.
Okay, do you want me to pull up a copy of the plan?
Yeah, I have a copy. Let's see.
I'll just give a brief overview. Yep. Basically, I'm requesting hopefully a negative determination for proposed work activities on this lot. Basically, I'm familiar with this area, and it was Southwood Brook that runs along the western property limits. And on the USGS map, that shows up as perennial. But years ago, we did an ANRAD requesting a determination of whether that was intermittent or perennial stream. And back in, I believe it was 2004, and I did send Steve the notes. Southwick Brook, just downstream, right there where the arrow is, was determined to be intermittent stream. So with that in mind, we don't believe that there's a 200-foot riverfront area, because at one time it was designated as intermittent. So that's the reason we filed the RDA, just as a concurrence. You know, it's been 10 years since we had that determination. And then also there's some isolated wetlands on the property too by the rail trail. And that there, I didn't realize had a 100-foot buffer zone. Steve brought that to my attention. So I made a revised plan. I put a 100-foot buffer zone on that isolated wetland. So as you can see, we're asking for two things. I guess one is that the stream is still intermittent, and is not perennial, and we have pictures to document that. And then also that this work as proposed will not impact any wetland resource areas, so requesting a negative determination. So basically, it's two things. The concurrence regarding the stream, Southwick Brook, hasn't changed since the last time we came before the board. And then the plan as designed could fall under a negative determination.
So when the plan was originally submitted, there was no buffer zones. I think they were just looking to verify that there was no riverfront based on that determination 10 years ago. But now that I had her because of the local bylaw, there is buffer zone associated with the project. That is another item that's added from the original plan, that there is work in this buffer zone jurisdiction.
Steve, how is it determined as to whether a brook is a perennial stream or an intermittent stream? Could you give me a quick lesson on that? Because I thought this was a perennial stream.
Right, so let me see if I can bring up the USGS map. I tried to bring it up a couple seconds ago. Just bear with me. 1 second. I'm going to town website.
Just quickly, per the regulations, there's a couple things you can do. The first thing is if it shows up on a USGS map, it's perennial unless you can overcome with a couple other criteria. And one of them is doing the stream stats and to see if the watershed area is big enough to support a perennial stream. And we did that back in 2004, and it came back as intermittent. And then also taking consecutive pictures throughout the year during a non-drought period. And if that stream bed is dry for so many days in a row, that also is an indicator it's intermittent. And that's happened several years in a row.
And so you say that in 2004, those pictures were taken and you went before the Conservation Commission and it was determined to be intermittent in 2004.
It was right. So back then it was 4 consecutive days during a non-drought period at that time. But what they classified as being, and this was a little farther south of this property. I think there's the old Grand Trunk. They're a little bit south of that area.
Yeah, it was right before that little pond right there on Martin Road there. You're going down Martin Road right before you get to the town hall, that little pond. So it was between
Yeah. That's all it takes. It's just 4 days.
Correct.
Dry.
In a 12-month period during a non-drought period. Now, I think it's been a while since I looked at the stream stats. I mean, RTR2, you can correct me, but I think the stream stats, you use that for perennial to determine if it's the other way around. I believe if the intermittent stream is perennial, you can convert an intermittent stream to perennial, but to convert a perennial stream to intermittent, you have to show that it's dried up.
Right.
That's correct, Steve. Yeah, through the chair, Art Allen. It's the only way you can overcome the USGS presumption of perennial is to document the stream dry in a non-drought period. Stream stats doesn't matter for purposes of a map perennial stream.
Let me bring up, hang on a second.
And so once you've gone through that process and determined that it's intermittent, it can't go back to being perennial, I assume.
That's not true either. The determination is only good for the life of the permit that it was granted under. Technically, if it was granted in 2004 and not continued or extended, then then technically you're making a new determination on the flow status.
And another thing is the ortho map up on the screen?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so the determination was for this property here. And I'm not sure if it was just for the property that it was on and everything above it, because there is a pond here and there's an impediment.
Right.
So I would think that, I would hate to say everything north to the south of this would be classified as intermittent, because technically probably this pond in the street, there's a culvert here. That's one of the criterias too, is that if there's a restrictive, correct me if I'm wrong, Art, it's been a while, been 10 years since I looked at it, but there's a restricted culvert that is adding to the impediment of the lack of stream flow in the perennial stream, that could also qualify it as a determination that it's restricted in its natural flow and it might not be intermittent.
That's one of the considerations. Is the property where the determination was granted, is that downstream? That's downstream.
Downstream, yes,
Downstream.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I assume the board would have considered the effect of the impoundment when they made that determination in '04.
Right, and I'm not sure, there's probably a culvert that goes underneath the old Grand Trunk. You can kind of see the way this property line is.
Yeah, there's another culvert under the rail trail. So there's two culverts. One's under Maple Street, then it traverses our property, and then it goes under another culvert under the rail trail.
Right. So when the plan came in, I think she wanted to clarify if this was still the case, that this was intermittent, and then there was isolated wetlands that weren't shown on here, that actually, even if this was intermittent, the property is still within the jurisdiction of the buffer zone based on the plan.
That's true. That's true. And I didn't think that regarding the Douglas bylaw in the isolated wetlands has buffer zones. I was just thinking of the state regulations. So I didn't put a buffer zone on there. I did show the wetlands, but I didn't show the buffer zone
Right.
for the bylaw.
Yeah, so I'll bring up the, well, here's a good map. Here's the USGS. The town GIS map isn't working. So here's the perennial. So when you have, so Mark, to get back to your question, the Wetlands Protection Act, it's all based on a USGS map. So
Yes, exactly.
if you have a dark blue line on a USGS map, it's perennial.
Right.
If you have a light blue line, it's intermittent. And then with the stream stats, I think the stream stats is to qualify, if you can qualify an intermittent stream, like that's what happened for the one on Davis Street years ago that flows into Wellman Brook. There was a bunch of studies that the intermittent stream didn't have the watershed area in the flow to the intermittent stream to be intermittent to perennial. So that you can, I think it's a little easier to go from intermittent to perennial because you have the stream stats that back it up. But to go from perennial to intermittent, I think it's like Art said, it's only based on finding that it's dry during 4 consecutive days in a 12-month period.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's only for a certain time period or whatever. And if that project didn't go forward, then we kind of lose that designation.
It sounds like it.
So I'm not ready to say that this is intermittent personally. I doubt it affects the project, but I mean, I wouldn't want us as a conservation commission at this point just to say, oh, it's intermittent, and then it's intermittent again.
Well, that's why we're here, before
Right.
we move forward with construction. We're just trying to get clarification to see if the commission still agreed that this was intermittent, or I guess there's still concerns or questions that the board has regarding calling this intermittent versus perennial. So I guess the choices are, we move forward and try to make our case that it's still intermittent, or just leave it as a perennial and then just file the NOI.
Right.
Right.
I know my client would like to, start construction sooner rather than later. So I'm just trying to see which would be the best course of action so we could get moving.
I mean, it looked to me from the plan that you have to file anyway, so.
And another point, when just in case this comes up in the future, it's important for the commission, because we're kind of in a drought, head into a drought, and they changed the drought classification. I think they added more layers to it, where it used to be, you had to be very severe. But if someone comes in next week and it's dry, you have to make sure that you wait a long enough period that the state doesn't retroactively determine a drought in April and May. Because if someone comes in May and you make the determination, and then in August they retroactive that there was a drought in May, then that could, make a determination on the stream status. So if this happens, they come up once in a while, once every 10 years when they have a drought, but you have to make sure when you make these determinations that it's, you wait long enough to make sure the state doesn't retroactive make this period a drought, because that has considerations. Because what happened 10, 15 years ago, a lot of streams are going from perennial to intermittent. And so they start going back and they look at the drought classifications months later.
And keep in mind, we're down on precipitation right now. The Berkshires is already in a level 1 drought. So it's not looking good for the rest of the state this year.
Right. And last year we were in a drought for much of the year.
Correct.
Heavy, yes, in August, September.
If I was to provide advice on this, I'd say the best course of action would be to acknowledge the perennial stream and file an NOI on that basis. Because there's no guarantee that, you'll get the appropriate documentation this year. The existing documentation on the downstream area is expired. So
Agreed.
it's the board's discretion, but
It could take all summer to get documentation that this is, and it's still no guarantees that you'll get that. So if I do treat this as a perennial stream, if I'm able to keep, move the house and the septic and everything to the far right-hand side of that lot as best I can and got out of the riverfront area in the buffer zone, would I still be able to move forward with an RDA?
So this is KG Dudley, and I think that we've lost Tracy, and I think that I might be chair right now.
Okay.
Going forward, the presumption that I'm currently chair, I'm looking at this plan, moving it to the upper right corner. It would be a 200-foot riparian area in that case.
Yeah, and you can see the 100-foot buffer zone by the driveway.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I don't think I'd be able to stay out of that.
Well, is the riverfront area from the wetland edge though, or from the stream bank?
It's just from the stream bank.
Right. So you have a few more feet there, maybe.
You do, but it's not going to be unless the house is very deep and narrow.
It's just going to be a 20 by 20 house.
Right. No, I think you're going to. I think
This is 4 bedrooms, so it's going to be bigger than that.
Well, and it's got a garage, and you could fit the driveway, I'm sure, but then you've got the septic.
No,
So,
I could get this. I probably could get the septic in the house outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. It's just the river, the 200-foot rivers.
Right.
For sure. And I appreciate, being outside of the wetland buffer for sure. I mean, that makes a difference to me, and certainly making it, as far towards that side as we can, but I don't think it's going to get you out of, I don't think it's going to bring you down to having just to do an RDA.
Well, when it comes to the riverfront, you got to make sure that you meet the 1058 with the 10% calculations and the amount of disturbance.
Okay.
And keep in mind too, the riverfront is a resource area. So if you're working in any part of that 200-foot riverfront area, an RDA does not apply. You're in a resource area, so you would have to file a notice of intent. Also, do you know the date of this lot? The date of this lot was created?
Not off the top of my head.
If the lot predates the riverfront provisions, which is 1996, then you're essentially allowed to site a single family house on the lot as long as you minimize impact on the riverfront area. So that's a big consideration, because otherwise you're limited to only 10% disturbance of the outer riparian zone. You're not allowed to work within the inner riparian zone at all. But if the lot predates 1996, then you're allowed, to site a minimum impact single family house. That's a provision from the riverfront regulations, just FYI.
That's interesting.
It's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna I'll take any comments from the board, but I'm gonna say for my part that we're gonna want to see an NOI. Art, Mark, Eric, Mike.
Yeah, I agree, Katie Grace.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Me as well.
Thank you.
So I think the board should, the commission should vote that to make a determination that it has a positive determination.
All right, I'll entertain the motion for the positive determination.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Art Montminy, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye, and I seconded it.
Thank you, Mark. KG Dudley, aye. All right, thanks for letting me do that. All right, is there anything else? Okay. Thank you, board. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See what else we've got on here. The next item is a new single family house. It's currently, where is my clock?
8:12.
8:12 p.m. New single family home, notice of intent, lot 5A Chestnut Street, Stephen Swartz. And there's a folder link. I'm looking for
Public hearing, notice there's a public hearing notice folder. It has all the public hearing legal notices in it.
Oh, yes, there is.
I have them all in one folder in the G drive.
Yep, I believe you. I'm gonna find it. No, it's not there.
Yeah, I'll bring it up for you.
No, that's the agenda. Oh, thank you, Steve. All right, lot 5, Chestnut Street, Town of Douglas Conservation Commission Street, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for an NIO filed by Stephen Swartz, located at lot 5A Chestnut Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and Wetland Protection Act 131, Section 40. Proposed work involves construction of a single-family house and appurtenances. Construction activities are within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetlands. Public participation will be via virtual means only, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, JL 30A18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people they may gather in one place. This meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at douglasmat.gov at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the NOI may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205, March 22, 2021, appearing in the Worcester Telegram Gazette on Monday on the 22nd. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Who is presenting this? Name and address?
I am again. All set? Okay, for the record, Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering, and I'm representing my client, Stephen Schwartz, for requesting a permit for a proposed single-family new house, four-bedroom house and septic at Lot 5A on Chestnut Street in Douglas. This design was approved by somebody else back in 2004. The wetlands were delineated by, I believe, Ecotech in 2004 and reviewed by BSC Group in 2004. I went out there and reflagged them, and pretty much the line I came up with was pretty much the same as what was flagged back in 2004. So you see the wetland line there, those are my wetland flags. But if I pull in the flagging of back in 2004, it pretty much overlays fairly close to that. So you can see I have a proposed septic, proposed four-bedroom house. You can see the 50-foot buffer zone right there. Then the 100-foot buffer zone. And then I have wells that I have to keep the system outside of. There's a proposed well right there. And, so I don't have a whole lot of flexibility on this lot in order to meet the, the Title V criteria and the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw criteria. So it's pretty much squeezed where it's at. We do have a DEP number. Steve had some comments I addressed.
Excellent. Steve, did you have any comments on this lot?
Not really. I mean, here's a video in case you want to see the video of it.
That's cute.
This is the upper part, the stone wall. I'll speed it up a little bit. You can see the old field down below. Wetlands is down below at this lower level here. House is going up on this area. Pretty much where I'm standing is the septic and the house. Wetlands comes through. This was a crossing that happened probably 15 years ago. Driveway on the other side. Speed it up a little bit. Here's the wetland flag in the field. Driveway for the butters, so the property, this is pretty much right here, the property, house up in this area here, wetland to the left.
Okay. All right, yeah, so I see that you've got driveways on either side of the lot too. Quick question, why is this a 5A lot? It's part of a larger lot? All right.
We did get a number.
Can I get a street address for that?
I think it was 42 Chestnut now, but we didn't have the street. That was one of my comments. We didn't have the street address when it came out, the agenda came out.
Okay.
That's right, I did get an address.
42 Chestnut now.
But I mean, this is part of the larger lot?
This has already been subdivided years ago.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is, I'm looking at the locust map, and I know that I think that's Tinkerville Brook is over there. Are there any riparian zones that are coming into play, or are we so far away that those wouldn't be marked?
I do not think I checked it. Let me check that again, but
From the locust map, which is hard because I can only zoom in so far, I can see the entire property, and I think that at this point, the riparian zone would probably end well before the wetland buffer zone. So if you're outside the wetland buffer, you're probably good. I just didn't know if it made any sense to mark it.
Yeah, I see that that's on, it's beyond, my client owns 46 Chestnut Street. And Tinkerville Brook is beyond that property limits. So we're beyond the 200-foot zone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just looking at this. It looked like it could cut into the back left corner of the lot, but then I scrolled over to the lot area, which goes way further back. So yeah, no, I can see where that wouldn't show up on this plan at all.
Okay.
Okay. Board, any comments?
Now, Margaret, you said you had a DEP number.
Yes.
Can you give it to us? We don't have it in it's not in the agenda.
It just came over. I checked today. It came over the last couple of days. I think it is 143-1016.
I know, I saw it it's in this folder somewhere, but you're probably right, Steve, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, 1016.
And what kind of square footage are we talking about here, Margaret, for the house?
55 by almost 30, so 50 by 30, so 1,500 square feet,
16, yeah.
roughly.
Thank you.
You really can't get anything else bigger than that in there. That's just a box. But that's pretty much between the zoning offsets and the 50-foot buffer zone and having to stay 20 feet away from the septic, that's it. That's about it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public who has any comments or questions?
Yes, please.
Identify address and name.
My name is Richard McLeod. I'm on 40 Chestnut Street.
Okay.
I have concerns. I know I built my house in 2006 and we had to put a culvert. So I'm the driveway on the left here.
Mhm.
So, I have a culvert in there. It's wetlands. I mean, I know it says vegetated wetlands. They have a 100-foot buffer. I don't know all the rules and laws, but to have a well that close, I mean, it is wet. I think the video they showed, was pretty good, but they don't show the actual culvert and, the water going through it. I've been there for 15 years and, it's very close to my driveway. I'm concerned, obviously living there, I have a very quiet spot and I enjoy it, but I had to replicate 5-to-1 wetlands back in 2007. Maybe it has made it wetter. I mean, it's soft there. I'm not going to pretend to know all the zoning laws and being that I had to, do certain things too. I just feel he was approved 2004. Maybe a walk could show you differently that it is wetter than we think. There is animals that live there, turtles, everything there. I mean, it's wetlands. So
For sure. And I just for your knowledge, your situation is unique. You have what's called a wetland crossing, and therefore your lot was required to do a replication area to cover for that crossing. What you have on your lot is a much greater impact to the resource area than what we're looking at for this lot. And that's why the conditions are different.
Okay. About the well buffering zone, I mean, that goes into somebody else's well zone. Again, that doesn't affect it being that close to water?
So wells are generally under the jurisdiction of the Board of Health, but from a wetland perspective, so when you're talking about property And like septic systems, that's a Board of Health matter.
Yeah.
But for this board, that is why we care about the dimensions here from the wetland buffer zone.
Right,
So
okay.
that is something that we're taking into consideration for sure.
All right, well, I mean, I don't know much else to say on that. Again, I wish I had more information. I don't know. We just made the meeting here. What else could I think? I mean, that's it. It's close to my driveway, things like that, but that's not on this meeting. So that's something I could take up with the planning board. Do you have any advice on that or?
For sure, that was something that you could take up with planning board. Yeah, we're interested in the wetlands, but I mean, that being said, I mean, thanks for your information on the wetlands. Yes, we would agree that the wetlands is wet.
Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you.
Hi, could I speak, please?
Name and address?
Dean Parker, 43 Chestnut Street. I live directly across the street from this whole thing.
Okay.
And as you can see, my well right here. Sorry.
You can't.
Oh, I can't do that. Yeah, that's my well.
Yes.
That is the oldest well on the street. This entire street used to be owned by the Parkers years and years ago. And I bought this place 26 years ago. And, it kind of like intersects his little well area. And I don't know a lot about this stuff either. But, it's just a horrible place for a house. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's been wet. I mean, before Rich came here, that was very wet. From the farm that was to the left of it, that's always been wet.
I think the culvert adds to it too.
Yeah, the culvert probably adds to it. But no, it was very wet before that.
You're talking about the driveway culvert made it more wet?
Oh, yeah. Well, the driveway raised up the property and now it's basically on this side and it's got a culvert running through it now.
Definitely, I would say, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What else?
I believe that made it a lot, more water. I mean, it's not as dry as saying vegetated wetlands. It may be from the culvert making it, more wet. Wetlands is wet. I get that, but it just could be more due to that, the construction that we did that many years ago. So I don't know if it affects it, but that's why we're on the conservation wetland meeting now. So.
No, and I appreciate it, and that's why that was a long time ago, and that's part of the reason that Margaret reflagged. And, we'll take that into consideration as a board and perhaps contemplate the idea of doing a site walk if that's something that we want to do. To address your comment about the well overlap, yes, you can see that the well radius at overlap is drawn out there. So we are aware there is an overlap in that space. There should be enough water available in the space that they wouldn't go dry.
How deep is that well? Is your neighbor's well? Or
my well is 293 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Artesian well, and it used to feed this whole area here. Well, the entire street was owned by the Parkers, and this entire street was owned by the Parkers. This was the original Parker farm. My house is actually a grandfathered lot of 1.1 acres. Where the original farmhouse was that burnt down in the 1950s. And actually, my name is Parker, but no relation.
That's funny. Okay.
This actually where this was the biggest barn.
Just trying to focus on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was the biggest barn in Worcester County, right where this house is.
There's an old foundation.
There's an old foundation there.
Oh, that's what the rubble is probably from then that I'm seeing in the pictures.
Maybe it's historical. We don't know.
Yeah, it's historical, without a doubt.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
Can I just interject regarding the Board of Health did review this, and I did have to revise the well location. Douglas has their own well bylaws. And I did have the well up at the front of the house, and I didn't know you have to keep a well 60 feet away from the roadway, center line of roadway. So that's why the well got moved to the back.
What about a center line of a driveway?
And the center line of a driveway, that too. And the property line and a septic system.
Okay. So that's why it's located where it is.
That's correct.
Okay,
But you couldn't do anything about mine. Mine's been there for 100 years.
I've only seen 18 feet here.
right.
Yeah, I can't.
Margaret, is there any clearing on the property? I see a light green line that's like under the house. And just, is that clearing?
It's just a tree, yeah, tree line.
There are no trees there.
It's brush, actually, brush line.
Brush.
Brush line. Okay.
All right, thank you.
And I appreciate the proposed split rail fence back there too. Thank you.
Captured all in one meeting.
Did you contemplate twisting the house so that front right corner is closer to the street to pull it away from the wetland at the back?
Where?
Pulling it to the corner of the front right there.
Try to keep it perpendicular to the grade. You start bucking the grades and you're bringing in more fill, and then with the driveway coming in the side. So now I kind of keep it parallel with the existing contours. Helps on grading because it's a walkout in the back. I start twisting it, then it creates more cut and fill. Right now I have it's just a walkout straight out in the back. You see how I got my proposed grades are tying right into the existing grades, and they're all running in the same direction. I'm not bucking the grade at all.
I don't see where there's a walkout at the back. There's nothing that shows that.
Well, the slab is at 94.24. See the slab there? And then you
Yeah.
see the grade at the rear of the house, 94. That
Okay,
way to show
now
that
I understand.
walkout in the back.
What's the slope up that you have there going towards the split rail fence?
That's 3-to-1. Well, that could be 2-to-1 behind the house.
No deck.
I didn't show a deck, no. I got that 50-foot buffer. I didn't think a deck was allowed in that 50-foot, correct?
You're correct.
Yeah.
I would like to see the site.
You wanted to see the
I don't know
site?
if anybody else wants to or not, but I would like to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Agree.
Is that all right, Margaret? I mean, do you have this flagged?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have the house staked or the septic staked, but it's not a very big lot.
Understood. Is there anything, or Mark, that you'd like to see flagged? That outside of the buffer, do you want to see the corners of the house with the septic done?
Yeah, actually, I would.
Okay. Margaret, is that something you'd be willing to do?
So what do you want me to do? Stake in the house and the septic?
Yes.
When is the site visit?
Whenever you can email me, let me know
So-
ready, I'll email the commission.
We can't continue you to the new meeting on the 26th because it doesn't officially exist yet.
Right.
So you would have to go to the May 18th meeting. So you could
17th.
flag any time between now and then.
Okay, when I have it staked, I'll just send Steve an email, okay?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Then anything else?
Nothing else from the board? Anything else from the public? We're gonna continue this if that's okay, but before I have us make that motion, do we have anything else from the public in today's meeting? Okay. If we're sure there's nothing else, because I mean, it's a long time between meetings, I want to make sure that we get any of the concerns caught before we go to the next meeting, then I'd entertain a motion to continue.
Yeah, I move we continue 42 Chestnut to to the meeting on 5/17.
Second,
Okay, moved and seconded, roll call vote.
Art Monmany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
KG Dudley, aye. All right, thank you, Margaret. I appreciate it, and we'll look for that email. Okay. Next item. Find an agenda again. 7 p.m. public hearing notice of intent Blackstone Logistics Center.
8:35, Katie.
Thank you. At 8:35 p.m. There it is. Oh wait. Wait, is this a public hearing?
Gotta read the notice.
Yeah, I know.
There it is. There it
I
is.
find it on my own this time, but I'm not that good yet.
I wouldn't be able to.
Snooping around the Google Drive. Okay. All right. This public notice from Scannell Properties LLC, Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Massachusetts. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for notice of intent filed by Scannell Properties located at map 114, lot 3, 4, 5, 6 for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas bylaw law and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. Proposed work involves construction of a 646,000 square foot warehouse distribution center and associated parking area, stormwater management system, and access drives. Public participation will be by virtual means only pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law GL 30A 18 and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at douglasmat.gov at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice of intent may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205, March 23, 2021. And this was posted in March 23rd. Thank you. Who's presenting today for this item?
Hi, my name is Dan Feeney. I'm a professional engineer at Beals and Thomas, here representing Scannell Properties. Also on the call is Leo Layton from Scannell Properties, and I believe Zachary Zweifler may be on the call as well from Scannell. If it's helpful, I can share my screen and just walk through a overview. Oh, okay, you guys.
We have, yeah.
Great. So I'll just provide an overview of the existing conditions as well as the proposed improvements at the site. The site is located in 3 municipalities. It's located in Douglas as well as Uxbridge and Sutton. On the right-hand side of the plan is Lackey Dam Road in Uxbridge. If you continue further up the plan, so further to the north, that will take you into Sutton up there. The rear of the site is also located in Sutton. The smallest piece of the property is in Douglas. So it's the property is going to be subdivided via an A&R, which will create a approximately 69.5 acre lot. And about 8 acres of that is in Douglas. The 61, 62 acres is split almost evenly between Uxbridge and Sutton. The existing wetlands at the site, there's basically 6 distinct wetland areas at the site. I'll start with the ones in Douglas. Right down where the cursor was, yep, right down there is the A series wetland. Again, that's split by the Uxbridge and Douglas municipal boundary. So the majority of it is in Uxbridge, but there is a piece that's in Douglas. That is a bordering vegetative wetland. It continues off-site into the Route 146 right-of-way. The wetland drains towards the right-hand side of the plan in a southerly, southwesterly direction or southeasterly direction. to a culvert or to an intermittent stream that then flows into a culvert that runs underneath Lackey Dam Road and down into eventually Lackey Pond. The other wetland area is a small isolated wetland. It's a potential vernal pool designation. That is a small area. Again, it does continue off-site a little bit into the Route 146 right-of-way. So that is an isolated wetland in there. So there's no outlet from that wetland. The other wetlands that are on site, there's and that wetland actually is also bisected by the municipal boundary, this time with Sutton. There is 3 more wetlands further into the rear of the site, all within Sutton. 2 of those are isolated, the 2 at the very rear of the property. Yep, those 2 are isolated wetlands. The larger wetland system right in that area may have a potential hydraulic connection in the Route 146 right of way. And then there is a wetland on the north eastern portion of the site. Most of that is off of the proposed project site, but there is a stretch that is in the site, and that is in Uxbridge. So the proposed improvements at the site consist of a 646,000 plus or minus square foot warehouse distribution facility with associated employee parking in front of the building, located in Uxbridge. Loading docks on both of the longer sides of the building, and also trailer parking adjacent to those loading dock areas, and a potential remote trailer parking at the rear of the site in Sutton. The stormwater from the site primarily flows to 2 main locations, both to the intermittent stream and to culvert at the intersection of Lackey Dam Road and Route 146, and then through the culvert offsite to Lackey Pond, and then to the larger wetland system straddling the Lot 1, Lot 2, into a culvert that flows under Lackey Dam Road, also down into Lackey Pond. There's very little on-site drainage flow to the wetlands that are in Douglas. The isolated wetland has a limited drainage area from on-site. It goes up a little bit and then kind of levels off and goes down at the Tennessee gas pipeline easement, which is shown in the purple in this plan. The A-series wetland does have a little bit of a drainage area to it that is just within the Douglas side of things. So yeah, right down in there. Yes, right to the left of that, where the 827, 28, 29 flags are. There is a contributing area to that wetland down in that area. And again, that also has a contributing area from the Route 146 right-of-way area. So on this plan, we've shown the 50-foot no disturbed area in the orange peach color, and then the 100-foot buffer zone of the 50 to 100 in the yellow color. So there's not a lot of proposed work within the Douglas buffer zone, within the 100-foot buffer zone. There's a little bit of off-grading within the 100-foot, both associated with the A-series wetlands as well as with the B-series isolated wetlands as well. So, if you want, I can pull up a plan that shows grading so you can see the limits of the grading. There's no pavement, no structures within any of the buffer zones within Douglas. But there is some off-grading areas, so temporary impacts to the outer 25-foot of the buffer zone.
Thank you. Steve, did you have any comments on this?
I didn't have too much. I know Art Allen, who's here, he's representing the Tri-Town area, so he's representing all three conservation commissions. So he can maybe, I think he's reviewed it on the NOI, the wetlands, and he's here. I think he gave a preliminary, he might have given a preliminary report too. But
Yeah, I was just looking at the report and I was going to call on Art next because the report said there may have been a couple of comments that weren't addressed or were addressed. So Art from Ecotech, if you had some comments.
Sure. Art Allen here, Ecotech consultant through the town of Sutton for Douglas, Sutton, and Uxbridge on all three towns. We did a peer review, what I call the preliminary review back in January, where we looked at all of the wetland resource areas on site and by GIS. We did have a number of several comments on the wetlands, both in terms of some of the flagging up mainly in the Uxbridge side, and then some comments on the way the wetlands were designated on the plans. But most of those comments pertain to Uxbridge. The only comment that I had outstanding from our initial review for the Douglas wetlands pertain to that B series wetland, which is it's as noted by Dan, it's an isolated wetland. It's also a map potential vernal pool by the state, by Natural Heritage. It had not been calculated for isolated land subject to flooding. That would be necessary to get, an accurate designation of that wetland. That being said, it's a steep-sided depression that appears to be mainly fed by intersection of groundwater. I do not believe, even if the storm contribution and groundwater contribution were looked at, that it would extend the jurisdiction outside of the flagged boundary. So it's not really significant. Plus the fact that they've maintained some good offsets. The B series wetland, they're offset outside the 50-foot buffer, and it's also outside of the existing tree line. This was a earth removal site, and the existing tree line is basically the limit of the earth removal operation. So all of their proposed work is outside the tree line in the formally excavated area. Again, 50-foot buffer for the B series, minimum setback. And then the A series, they're outside of the 100-foot buffer in Douglas for their limit of work. So really there aren't any significant issues, pertaining to, resource areas or resource area protection in Douglas, in my opinion. There really isn't that much going on in Douglas wetland wise, and they've minimized the impact. So that's about it from my perspective. I think they still have some work in the other towns, but I'm not aware that they've even filed the NOIs in the other towns. So I assume we'll deal with that when we get to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I am going to open this up for board comments in a minute, but I'm going to take the liberty of commenting first. I guess my first item is a question. If there's a question as to whether or not that isolated wetland is a vernal pool, would the setback be increased if it were?
My understanding there's no increased setback on the state level. Federal level has no buffer zone whatsoever. And the bylaw, I do not believe, has any additional setbacks for vernal pools. I see Steve shaking his head no, so I assume he's in agreement. So no, the answer is no. Plus the fact that they're, even if you wanted to afford some extra protection in the buffer, 100-foot buffer, again, they're outside of the tree line in the formally disturbed gravel pits. So I don't believe there would be, any impact to the upland habitat in the buffer zone, at least not outside of 50 feet.
Yeah, I mean, if it was the vernal pool wasn't within a wetland and it was isolated by itself, it had very limited protection. There would be no buffer zone protection. It would be just it's the pool itself.
Interesting.
If it was classified.
Yeah, no, and I understand that it's not. I just wanted to make sure that we were covered in the event that something like that would occur.
I want to change my name. Oh, well, I want to get rid of that, but I don't have time.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. What was the comment? No. Okay. My next question was the gas line. Was that gas line in there that has a buffer zone around it? That's pre-existing?
Yes, that is correct. There's a 50-foot gas easement. So there is a pipe out there, high pressure gas pipeline that Tennessee Gas Pipeline has.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't installed as part of this project.
Nope, not a proposed
Okay.
gas line. It's existing.
Thank you. And then my other follow would be the parking spaces for the trailers, that whole paved area. Is that curbed so that it kind of guides the runoff towards a particular basin?
It is curbed, yes. Yeah, so everything is collected in deep sump hooded catch basins and is directed down to one of the two infiltration basins that are proposed.
Okay, so then the infiltration basins would catch things like gravel and salt that would be spread on the parking spaces?
Yeah, it would be treated first and then directed to the infiltration basins, yes.
Okay. All right, that addresses questions I had. Board, anything else?
I have a question.
Yep, Mark.
I mean, obviously this is a large project and there's a lot of impervious surface. So how are you handling the water off of these impervious surfaces, and how will you protect the wetlands? Will they still get any water from the site?
Yeah, so as I noted, the vast majority of the wetlands don't have any tributary overland flow from existing conditions to the wetlands from the developed portion of the site. They're very, there's berms that come up and then come back down, and it's sort of the Tennessee Gas Pipeline is almost a high point. The A series wetlands does have some tributary flow to it, so just as an update, we've had a few joint planning board meetings between Douglas, Uxbridge, and Sutton, and they have retained a peer review consultant, Graves Engineering, and so they reviewed that, and they have a comment on that. So we've done a separate drainage area to analyze the flow to that wetland A series to show the impacts of the flow to that A series, because we are cutting off a little bit of flow, but not a lot of flow from it, especially when you take into consideration the amount of offsite flow that comes to that wetland. There's a pretty good amount of the Route 146 right of way that flows down into that wetland area.
Yeah, I'm less worried about surface flow because I understand that this site, there isn't surface flow into the wetlands, but the wetlands that are around it take their water from the groundwater. The groundwater gets their water from the rain that lands on the permeable soils that are underneath the building and underneath the parking. So how will we compensate for that, for losing that infiltration under the building and under the parking and getting it into the groundwater?
So the groundwater out here is fairly significantly deep throughout the site. There's the geotechnical engineer has done a series of test pit and borings throughout the site. And the groundwater, it's a formal gravel pit site operation.
High infiltration, correct.
High infiltration, and it all goes down a good distance to the groundwater. There's groundwater in some of these that, test pits were excavated down to, 10 feet below the wetlands elevations and no groundwater encountered. So I don't think there's a lot of infiltration from the site that's feeding those basins. A lot of those basins seem to be surface water fed from the Route 146 corridor.
You said that the B series wetland was groundwater, didn't you?
I did not say that. I think Mr. Allen might have mentioned he thinks it might have some
Oh,
groundwater.
okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Allen, can you comment on that? You said it was groundwater, but you,
Well, typically these kettle depressions in the outwash sand and gravel, you know, they do intersect groundwater unless there is a restricting layer underneath. I mean, I didn't do geotech on the site. If they did geotech and there's restricting layers that are, you know, that are underlying these wetlands, then yeah, it could be, you know, more of a surface water, shallow groundwater. I mean, it would still be some groundwater above the restricting layer, but again, typically these kettles in sand and gravel kettle basins, they intersect groundwater. But I defer to Dan if he has geotech and they showed, you know, restricting layers that you know, if there aren't restricting layers, then they wouldn't hold water in sand and gravel, basically.
mm-hmm. So you said you've designed infiltration basins? How
That is
large are
correct.
those?
Yep. So there's two infiltration basins, one of them down at the near the intersection of Lackey Dam Road and Route 146, and another infiltration basin on the opposite side of the site. Yep, right down there, and then one on the opposite side of the site. And again, you know, there's been test pits and soil evaluations done within those basins to confirm the groundwater elevations as well as the permeability of the soils.
And so all the water, all the runoff from the driveways in the building will be directed towards those infiltration basins?
That is correct, yes.
And but there are no infiltration basins toward the back part of the site?
There is not any infiltration in the back part.
Right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, well, this is a public hearing. Are there any questions from the public? Please identify name and address. Nothing from the public today. I assume that this is, you know, considering this is a joint project and you still have to file with the other towns, you're not looking for approval tonight?
We actually have filed with the other two towns. We had a hearing in Uxbridge earlier this evening before joining this call, and we have our first notice of intent public hearing in Sutton on, I believe it's Wednesday night.
Nice.
So the storm, just to clarify, so the stormwater management, is that filed in Douglas or is that filed in all three towns as part of the NOI?
The stormwater management report was filed in all three towns as part of the NOI. Yep.
Okay.
And that's Graves that's reviewing that?
Graves is reviewing it, yes. Yep. And they did issue a comment letter. I'm going to say it was probably about 3 weeks ago as part of the planning board process. And we responded, I think it was just last Friday. So with updated plans and stormwater calculations and a response letter.
Yeah, can you just make sure that, are they reviewing that in regards to the three conservation commissions jurisdictions too?
I believe they are, yes, but you know, I would look to Graves to provide that information. But yeah, they that was their charge, was to review it on behalf of all three towns.
I don't think I've received any responses from them yet. So if they have anything, just make sure they forward it to our commission so I can just pass it along.
Yes?
Yep. Yep.
And then is there a DEP number associated with this?
There is.
You have it.
17,
All right, thank you.
1017.
There any open space associated with the project?
There is open space designated in the town of Sutton. So it's basically the area, for the most part, the triangular piece adjacent to Route 146. Yep. So on the other side of the gas easement, all back in there. Nope, I'm sorry, the other side, right down there. Yep. So all down in there is the open space. Coming all the way back up towards the gas easement up in there.
So the other side of the gas easement?
The other side of the gas easement, Sutton has a zoning requirement for open space, and you cannot include land within easements because you don't have full control over that land to create such an open space designation. So it's that area, as well as some of the triangular piece between the National Grid easement and the trailer parking. So
does it continue to that B series wetlands that's on the edge of the line in Douglas?
I believe it does, yes, continue all the way down to the B series wetlands. Yep. And as Mr. Allen noted, we are keeping all the trees down in there in Douglas as you come down. They start to come up into the gas easement, especially the canopy overhangs that gas easement. So none of those trees are being altered as part of the proposed project.
You're not crossing, so you're staying 50 feet from the gas easement. You're not crossing the gas easement at all.
There is some grading within the gas easement. We've coordinated with the gas company because we're proposing a swale.
You're not crossing the line.
Not crossing where the middle of the easement, where the actual gas pipeline is, but there is some grading within the easement itself. The edge furthest from Route 146, there is some grading within that section of the gas pipeline, but that's all cleared under current conditions.
Can I assume that there's a detail for the infiltration basins within the documents?
Yes, on the detail sheets. Yep.
What is the floor of that? Is it going to be a planted floor or sand or?
I believe it's called out to be a sandy based loam material, so that you can have some stabilization on the bottom. It's not intended to be a strictly a sand or gravel bottom, but we can't put topsoil down, like rich topsoil down, and still keep the infiltration rates.
How far did did the gravel pit get to groundwater? Do you know what how far above the groundwater they stayed?
For the infiltration basins, or you mean just across the site? Yeah. It sort of varies. The grades in the site, for a fair amount of the site are up in the 360 range, and most of the test pits that were done didn't hit groundwater, and that in those going down 10 or 15 feet. As you come closer towards Lackey Dam Road, the existing grade does drop down. The grade of Lackey Dam Road is in the 330 range. So as you come down there, test pits hit groundwater, but it was generally I want to say it was 7 to 15 feet below the existing grade down there. So they didn't excavate down to groundwater on those sections of the site, or where they did excavations. It doesn't appear that they came close to encountering groundwater.
So how far above groundwater are the infiltration basin floors?
The infiltration basin one is well above it. That's a higher area of the site over there. So that one was, I believe 5 to 10 feet, a minimum higher than the groundwater level. Infiltration basin two, I believe, was in the 3 to 4 feet range above groundwater, the seasonal high groundwater.
Wow, that's all. Jeez.
That area of the site down there, the existing grades down there are about 330, and the basin is a little bit lower than that proposed, so that we can capture the access drive as it approaches Lackey Dam Road.
Doesn't seem like that's a lot of infiltration space.
Yeah, it meets the requirements of the DP Stormwater Handbook. Again, Graves has reviewed it for compliance with that.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're still here. We're talking
Yes.
about the logistics center.
I figured I came on around 9:03, I think it was.
Okay, great.
Yeah, pretty familiar with the site.
Fantastic. I'm just trying to decide if we have everything here or if we needed something else. I don't know if we're,
Well, we don't have a DEP number yet.
we do though.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
So-
art presented and the plans are revised?
Well, I think we need,
Stormwater management.
well, yeah, I think you need the other towns, you need one cohesive plan from planning, conservation in all three towns. So even though Douglas has the most minimum amount of work, and we probably would be ready to approve our sections with the other towns, we would want to continue any meeting until everyone's working off the same approved plans.
Right, so from Art's comment letter, have those plan changes been addressed in I think the NOR revised?
We talked through those. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, that being said, to the point of Steve, the cohesive plan is important, and I believe the stormwater management stuff is still working through the channels. So,
okay.
And if I could, this is Art Allen. My comments on the larger, project in terms of the wetland boundaries and things, that those revisions had not been made on this plan set. So I'm assuming, again, as Steve noted, they should be working off the same plan set. I had been in touch with the Beals and Thomas wetland scientist in late February. He was on the site making revisions, but those revisions do not appear on this plan set. So I'm sure there's going to be revisions, forthcoming. I would also echo the sentiment that you not close until the overall plans have been finalized.
Yeah. Yep.
all right.
So just as a note, the plans that I had noted earlier, the plans that we had resubmitted last Friday, we had gone back out there. Mr. Allen had, a handful of flags to either add in or remove. So that new wetland line was surveyed and is showing up on the latest plan set, and we'll distribute that to all three conservation commissions, as well as the updated stormwater report and the response letter to Graves.
Thank you. And we didn't have any comments from the public today.
Oh, okay.
So
Still quite a bit of people on.
we do.
Okay.
Waiting for the next one.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. You're still in charge, KG.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to continue this unless there are any other questions. Art, you're unmuted. I think you said so moved, though.
I did say so moved. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So moved to what date?
To May 17th.
All right.
Second by Mark.
All right. Roll call vote.
Pompany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Manjamai.
KG Dudley, aye. All right. Thank you, Dan, very much for your presentation. We appreciate it. Thank you, Art, as well, for all of your comments.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Certainly. Absolutely. All right. The next item on our agenda. What time is it, Art?
9/11.
All right. At 9/11, we've got an ANRAD, which is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 0 Mumford Street. It's 0 Mumford Street, Assessors Map 135, Lot 12, Sutton Douglas Development. Tracy, do you want me to read the public hearing notice?
Whatever you prefer. Do you want me to take over? Or you don't want to, or do you want to continue?
I'll continue.
Okay. Go
All
for
right.
it.
Can I have the top of it? No. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing. Town of Douglas. I didn't need the top of this. 29 Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, or ANRAD, filed by Sutton Douglas Development located at 0 Mumford Street, pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves the confirmation of wetland resource area boundaries. Public participation will be via virtual means only pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law in General Law, Section 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Douglas Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at douglasmad.gov at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the ANRAD may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. Douglas Conservation Commission, Douglas Conservation Commission, appearing in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette on Thursday, the 18th of March. Excellent. Who's here to present this plan?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. I'm joined tonight with one of my colleagues from the firm, Chris Peretti. Joining us as well is the individual who submitted the filing, which is Scott Hine from Northeast Ecological Services. The three of us are here on behalf of Sutton Douglas Development, who is represented by Tim Flynn joining us tonight. My involvement in the presentation, this is basically Scott's show tonight. He will be doing the presentation of his findings in the field and answer any questions specific to the delineation itself. I've been asked by Scott to open the meeting by presenting the board with the perimeter of the property if members of the commission are not familiar with them. So with that said, if I could, Madam Chair, take control of unless of course you're familiar with it. If you'd like to do it, that's fine with me. I'll sit back and watch the presentation. Or if you'd like me to just run along the perimeter.
We can have Cable. Nope, if Cable can give control to Wayne, that'd be great.
Thank you.
He should be all set.
Right.
Easier said than done. So
So just for procedural aspect of it. So we just opened a public hearing, so we did advertise, and we did get a certified abutters list from Douglas, and then I made sure that they actually submitted a couple of abutters lists from Sutton. One was they traversed off the GIS, but I requested they get a certified abutters list from the Sutton assessors to make sure that what they submitted for the Sutton abutters, that they were also notified. And they did submit all the green cards. And if there wasn't green cards, they did submit that they mailed the green cards, certified white slips from the post office. And all those seemed to check out for Douglas and for Sutton. So I just wanted to make that notification that they did qualify for those two aspects.
Thanks, Steve. Madam Chair, if I don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but the project has received a DEP file number, and that is 143-1018. So, as I said, easier said than done. Where is the control for me to?
Share screen button. If you bring your mouse to the bottom of your screen and you hover there, the share screen should appear in green.
Yep.
So Wayne, if you're not used to Zoom, you have to open up your PDF file first.
Oh, you want me to share my screen? Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, make sure the file is open first, and then when you share the screen, you'll pick the file.
Gotcha. Oh, I thought I was reading from your screen, but I believe it is open. It's right here. There you go.
Perfect.
And let me make sure. Can you folks see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So the project, again, measures about 130 acres in size. Of the 130 acres, there's a section in here, about 4.5 acres located in the town of Sutton, number 61 Duval Road. The perimeter of the property, I'll just zoom in slightly. So starting in Sutton, the property begins here, wraps around like this, continues along here to a point here, wraps around, continues here, 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 out to here, as such, and then makes its return back to the point of beginning.
So
I did.
Wayne, Wayne,
fail to-
Wayne, I hate to interrupt, but real quick, just so the abutters know, this is not a notice of intent for a particular project. I think it's good to clarify at this point what is before the commission tonight.
That's correct. So this is basically, we're here to have our wetland scientist, and yours is online as well, our wetland scientist present his findings in the field of the wetland delineations in the various types of resource areas. In open it up to question for the Conservation Commission to discuss it and eventually look to confirm that delineation. The property itself is comprised of multiple parcels. With that, it's multiple parcels in the town of Douglas. There's only one parcel in the town of Sutton. One of the parcels is located out at Forest Street at number 5, an existing single-family house is located there. What I failed to mention as I was working my way around the perimeter, there's I believe it's about a 10-foot strip out here, 10 or 20-foot strip that comes out to Conservation Drive. So with that, what I'd like to do is, if it's okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to hand it over to Scott, and perhaps he can make his presentation. And if that is the case, would you like to work from my screen, Scott, or shall we work from the Conservation Commission screen?
If we could work from yours, that'll be fine, Wayne.
Okay. So I am, okay, so it's remanded back to the commission. So I think at this point, if you follow, I'm not exactly sure how it works from here.
Well, can you call it up?
Yeah, Scott, you would just have to leave it up on your screen, Scott.
Oh.
I mean, Wayne, I would bring it back up on your screen.
Gotcha. Sorry, folks.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, let's see. In the southern part of the site is a tributary to the Mumford River. It's actually goes from the Whiten Reservoir, and then it goes from the southwest to the northeast, exits the site underneath Mumford Street, and eventually discharges to the Mumford River in Sutton. This tributary is a perennial stream. It's also a cold water fishery, and it also provides priority habitat for at least one.
So, yeah, just real quick. So Wayne, because you have control of the screen, you have to, you have to use your pointer to go over what he's talking about.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping to take a nap.
Do we want to just switch that back to you, Steve?
Sure.
I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone involved.
Thank you.
Now you can nap.
Thank you.
There's no naps in Conservation Commission.
Okay, so even though there are wetland resource areas south of the Mumford River tributary, what the ANRAD is covering is just all those wetland resource areas to the north of that tributary, including the banks of that tributary itself. The banks of that tributary were flagged from Conservation Drive, bank number 1, and then it ends all the way up to the bend up there, Steve, to the northeast at bank 45. So that's important because that establishes the 200-foot riverfront area from the banks of that perennial stream. There's also a excavated channel / intermittent stream on the property, and it basically divides the property into an eastern and western section. It's a rather unusual feature. Not really sure what the purpose of that channel was. It starts fairly close to that perennial stream. It sort of just starts at a stone structure there. I did have a photo in the wetland report that I prepared and submitted to the commission. But it's probably 4 to 6 feet deep and sometimes 10 to 12 feet in width. And it's a pretty straight shot all the way from right through the property all the way out to Duval Road. And then it eventually discharges into Stevens Pond in Sutton.
Right.
There's 5 border and vegetated wetlands that I flagged on the site. The largest one is associated with wetland A, which starts at the Sutton town line in the northern part of the site. And that comes down to the south, and then it's coterminous with the limits of that intermittent stream through that section. And then there's large narrow tributaries that lead off to the west. And it goes all the way down. Yep, keeps on going. That's all wetland A. There's 160 flags associated with wetland A. And then it ends at that intermittent stream channel further to the south. Yep, right there. And then that is wetland BC. It's a forested wetland, primarily red maple, eastern hemlock. And that also discharges to that excavated channel. Wetland D is located in the northeast corner of the site. Yep, it is basically, yep, through there. And the western part of wetland D discharges, well, that eastern part discharges to the perennial stream that all drains to the southeast. However, the very western part of that wetland discharges to that excavated channel again.
Where's the eastern side of that wetland, if I might interject? Because I'm not understanding. Is it the whole corner of the property is wetland?
Yes, that's correct, Mark. It's
okay. Thank you.
Okay, then wetland E is below wetland D. That's a forested wetland. It might have been affected by that channel that was done many years ago because there was some evidence of channelized flow within wetland E, but the very pointy parts to the east of it, the water just seems to dissipate into the ground. There's no obvious channel that gets down into like wetland D further to the east or to the perennial stream to the east. but I did classify it as BVW because there are some channelized portions and some surface water flow within that wetland. Finally, there's wetland F, which is associated with the perennial stream. That's a forested wetland, primarily eastern hemlock with some red maple. A very narrow, stony wetland through that area. So let's see. I think that's what I wanted to say, just to give an overview of those wetland areas. I think in total, there's about 400 wetland flags or bank flags that need to be verified by Art.
Right, so, thank you. I mean, Tracy, so I just a little bit more, because this is an ANRAD, which is a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. So just to reiterate what Wayne was saying earlier for the abutters, is that the reason why large projects or people file a ANRAD is because instead of filing a wetland delineation and spend all the money and time and engineering for a project, which probably in the future there might be a project here, whatever that might be. If they made a mistake on the wetlands, some of that work would have to all be redone. So a lot of times these developers like to know exactly where their constraints of the wetlands are. Know where the riverfront area is, where the BVW flags are, any other wetlands, floodplains, isolated. They like to know where those are first and then design around them. And so this public hearing is to confirm just where the resource areas are on the site. And in the future, there may be another filing and a public notice and a public hearing for any potential project. And when that project comes forth, all the abutters would be notified once again for that particular project, and the resource areas would already be determined, and they would be looking at the project itself. So in case someone's not familiar with this process, that's what they're in front of us here tonight. Another just logistical, we did hire Art Allen of Ecotech. A proposal went out, and it's just formally, I think the developer or the applicant has agreed to pay that fee. The commission should just approve that Art can go forward with his formal review of the site. I think he was in the area last week, and he, I think, informally went out and has some comments on it. But if the commission can just to confirm that it's okay for him to move forward, that'd be great too.
Okay. Katie Grace, you want to call that vote for the $1,900 for the estimate for Art?
I would. Don't we have to make a motion? Should I entertain a motion?
Call for, yes. You want me to make the motion?
Approve.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal by Ecotech Art Allen to move forward with the review on the site.
Second.
So moved and seconded by Art. Roll call vote.
Tracy Sharkey, aye.
Art Mapney, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
All right. Thank you. So now that's all set. We've been briefed on what this is, what the ANRAD is. I was going to call for any comments from the board on what we're looking at here on this delineation.
Steve, I have a question.
Sure.
If there are wetlands on this site that are not identified by the ANRAD, how does that work?
I had that question early on, and I think Art's here too. I think he had the same question that, sometimes they only want a certain type of resource area delineated. To not have why all of them aren't delineated, specifically the riverfront area. And then I can maybe understand if they don't have anything to the south of the Mumford River, that would be called out particularly, maybe in the drafting of the decision, that no resource areas south of the Mumford River or that the bank was delineated. So any subsequent work in this area they would have to have that delineated or reviewed at some point in time. I think Art is here.
Yeah.
There's some
Over
comments
to Art, maybe.
Yeah, if I could, Art Allen from Ecotech. Yeah, I did take the liberty of making a short visit to the site late last week. In particular, I was concerned about those areas to the south of the Mumford River and then to the east out to Mumford Street. You can see some flags on the plan, but there's no symbology or anything. And GIS shows a number of wetlands in those areas. So I went out to look at that and then talked to Scott Heim subsequently. He noted, he made me aware at that point that those areas were not included on the plan or in the ANRAD. And what I would recommend in cases like this is that there be a clear demarcation of the limit of study on the plan to be approved. So there's no question, because in the future, when people are going to refer to the approved plan, this is what they're going to look at. They're not going to look at any narrative or anything. So, so there's going to need to be some clear demarcation of the limit of study. And also, it's a complicated site. There's limited access. I had noted in my initial just email comment that it would certainly facilitate the review if Scott and I could go out on the site together. He's familiar with the site, with access and navigating around the site. So it would certainly be appreciated if he could accompany me on the site if there's any issues. I mean, I noted just walking in, I walked in from Conservation Drive. I noted one area outside of the flagged mean annual high water line of the Mumford River tributary that I noted an area of hemlock, bordering vegetated wetland hemlock swamp that did not appear to be delineated. So those kind of things, if we find them on the site, then if Scott and I are together, we can make those revisions and then it doesn't it doesn't involve subsequent trips and delays in the project. So those would be my primary requests getting started. And I mean, I know I'm familiar with Scott's work. I've reviewed his work before, and I don't expect to find anything significant out here, but there's always some issues. So thank you.
Just a quick note, thank you, Art, is that I've always referred to that, the Mumford River is a little confusing because it's not the Mumford River they have noted. I think we tend to consider it because it's an unnamed perennial stream, but Whitens Reservoir Brook, or I can get you the terminology we used in the past, but I'm not sure where you came up with the terminology of Mumford River on there, but it's not the Mumford River.
No, yeah, I agree.
And I agree with Art that there really needs to be a clear delineation as to what the limits of this ANRAD are on the plan.
Absolutely, Madam Chair and members of the commission will do that.
Yeah, and the reason was just that, because of the cold water fishery, the priority habitat for a state listed species, the fact that it's perennial stream, we really didn't have any proposal to do any crossings of that area. And then the same with all the way out to Mumford Street. There's really no access from there. It's the whole property is pretty much the stream itself. So there's no chance of doing anything coming in from that direction.
Thanks.
Makes sense.
Okay, that answers that question. I did have one question, and I'm sorry if this was already answered. The cut channel, how is that characterized? That's characterized as a perennial stream?
I characterize it as an intermittent stream. It doesn't show up on any USGS maps, and it doesn't even show up on anything that you can do with stream stats as well. I did try to do a, rough calculation of a drainage area that goes to it. And it was a little less than 1/2 square mile.
Yeah, you probably did you find there's an old stone lock not too far from Conservation Drive that used to probably feed it. There used to be a Harmon whiskey used to be up in that area, and so I think it was all part of that system, and also to feed the mills downstream, the Schuster Mills. I think that was a diversion channel to Stevens Pond.
Yep.
To reuse the water.
Sounds it.
So instead of the water just going down to the Mumford, they'd reuse it as many times as possible. So that helped during droughts to help feed the ponds.
Steve, any idea when that was constructed, that channel?
No. The gentleman that owns the old Mr. Gray Russell Gray might have some information on that. He's across the off of West Street up on the mill. That his property actually was the old mill that used to produce the whiskey years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that we'll want to go through this. I also, after maybe we get some clear delineations, would be interested in the board getting the opportunity to do a site walk as well. But it looks like there's a bit more work to be done before we would want to do that. Other questions from the board?
Just make sure that before Art goes out there, you submit the check to the town. We have that in hand. Wayne or Scott.
Thank you. And that was for 1,900
Yes,
the amount? Thank you.
nothing for me.
Okay. Hearing no more from the board, I'd like to open this to comments from the public. This is a public hearing. Again, everybody should announce themselves from name and address before speaking. And remember, we're speaking to an ANRAD. There's no particular project identified at this point, just the wetlands and stream delineations. And Steve, could you open up can you close, yes, so that I can see people's faces? Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Foley. I live at 29 Conservation Drive.
Thank you.
I live to the left of that right-of-way. I believe it's a 20-foot right-of-way.
Okay.
That someone mentioned previously. You guys know the issues that we have with this, and I understand the purpose of the meeting. I won't get into it. You know why we are upset as residents on Conservation Drive. We were promised that was conservation land, and it's someone dropped the ball. So I wanted to confirm what Steve Zisk said, which is that canal back there. I once talked to Leon Mazinski, and he did say exactly what Steve said, and I believe it was built in the 1800s. I might be able to find information on that. And I don't know if that having an historical purpose, if that affects any kind of anything.
It wouldn't from a Conservation Commission perspective. I can say that much.
Okay.
I can't say whether it would or would not in another context.
Okay. All right. And all right, so that's all that I have to say. I won't get into it. Maybe that's for another meeting, but thank you for the presentation. It was very helpful to see the wetland demarcation, because I do know that area. I know that property very well, and seeing it's my backyard practically. So thank you for the information.
Certainly. Thank you for speaking up, Susan.
If I could, through the chair, it's Art Allen. Just in terms of the historical issues, if depending on the size and scope of the project, if this has to go through MEPA, the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, they'll be required to address historical issues through Mass Historic. Also, if it goes on the federal level through the Clean Water Act, there's also historical notifications required.
Thank you, Art. Yeah, any other comments from the public at this time? All right, I'm not hearing any. I know for our part, yep. Okay, great. It sounds like we still need to have the peer review done before we move forward with anything else. Again, I mean, I'd be interested in doing a site walk, but I would want to see any demarcations that come out of that peer review done before we as a board go out.
Yeah, revised plan. So Art and Scott are gonna coordinate together to go, okay, great.
For sure. Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can look at this again at the May 18th meeting. And we're going to continue the NRAD.
May 17th.
May 17th.
Madam Chair, just out of curiosity, how often does the commission meet?
So traditionally we meet twice in a month, but right now we're having an awkwardness because of the holidays. And we have a town meeting at the first week in May, and we have a holiday that's the one in April. So we're looking to add a meeting on the 26th, but we can't continue an item to a meeting that hasn't been formally established yet. So we can't continue you to the other meeting that we're potentially creating. The next official meeting we have is the May 17th. Because there would be one on May 3rd, except for we have a town meeting that day.
So on the 26th, there's a possible date, but it hasn't been established at this point in time.
Correct. So
And
this
therefore,
cannot continue you to that.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Another-
So
another-
let's say, just so my client understands, if we were in a situation where I was representing another client and we were looking to file something, potentially I could get on for the 26th if you guys had an agenda. But because this is an open hearing and we're continuing, because of that, you can't, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of the Zoom meeting, it's a Board of Health meets that Monday. We're trying to find out if they usually meet at 6. If they don't run late, we're going to try and use that to open any new items. So the 17th doesn't get logjam. Unfortunately, we don't have that information yet. We're still trying to work that out.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
That wouldn't preclude Art from doing his review. And
no.
So we
Correct.
can have that hopefully
Yeah,
resolved.
and we hope that you do. Yes.
Okay.
I think that also allows us to make the plan modification that would be necessary as a result of that review for the next hearing being
Right.
out in May. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully get that in enough time for us to take a look at. That'd be great.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll make a motion
What's your motion, Tracy?
to continue the public hearing for 0 Mumford Street, Assessors Map 135, Lot 12 to May 17th at 7 p.m.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion made by Tracy, seconded by Art. Roll call vote.
Tracy Sharkey, aye.
Art Monmany, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a great night. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you.
you.